And we're off. This is exciting. We're wrapping up our Masters preview week here on One Night in Pinehurst. Matty, how are you feeling? It's Christmas Eve here in One Night in Pinehurst.
Yeah. Well, I mean, any place that cares about golf world. This has
Well,
been a prodigious week for us. We've done a lot this week. I'm proud of us for sticking with it because it's been 3 in a row. You don't see a lot of podcasts doing 3 in a row like that. That's
I
not
think
bad.
there's The Ringer. I think there's maybe ESPN does it, and I think it's One Night in Pinehurst. So I think we're in the trifecta there in terms of media conglomerates.
That's a real nice cohort to be in. So
It-
no,
well,
it's awesome. 8 a.m. tomorrow. We're 12 hours away officially.
So we have some awesome guests tonight, and we've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this. It's been 20 plus years in the making. We've got Andy Jacobs. I first met him probably on the 11th hole at Indian Ridge Country Club in Andover. In between our houses, he'd tee off on 11 and meet me up by the green, and then we'd sneak on to 12 and play a par 3. And I would always put it as close to the hole as humanly possible, and that would be about 65 yards away.
Yeah. Long.
Yeah. Well, it was like 110-yard par 3. But
yeah.
So Andy's here tonight. And we have Bree Blakefield. I'm sorry, I knew
you would do both.
I was going to screw it up.
Yeah.
So Bree Blakefield, former amateur, professional women's golfer, winner of Big Break. I don't know which season. We'll get into that a little bit later. Thank you guys for joining us. We are absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, this is awesome. Bree, you've got some great behind the scenes Masters, Augusta, good stories for us. I'm excited to hear some of those. And Andy, I believe you've got some picks in the hopper for us, which is going to be real nice. So let's see where this goes. Thanks for coming.
Love it. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to be on board. 100%.
So tell me, Andy, where did you start to, fall in love with the sport? What got you excited? What are you most excited for this year for the Masters?
Yeah, well, personally, I suck at golf, but I love the game. I'm obsessed with it. I used to work on the golf course. It was my first basic 40-hour-a-week job during spring breaks in college, summers between freshman year in college to sophomore year in college. I actually started in high school, junior year in high school. And then moving forward, if you had told me that I would love watching golf every weekend on the television set as a 15-year-old, I would have told you, well, something went wrong at some point. But now I love watching golf every day in the afternoon, on the weekends. The gambling aspect definitely makes it even more intriguing. But yeah, Mike, to answer your question, I basically got hooked on golf, watching, playing video games, obviously coincided with a guy named Tiger Woods, lucky enough where we had friends play golf. So it's always a good social activity. It's good to watch on television. And, the Masters, I told you this when we were 17, 16 years old. This is a perfect time of year. It started last month with the March Madness college basketball tournament. And then it goes into the Masters. Then we're going to have winter NBA and NHL playoffs. And the next thing you know, it's summer. So great time of the year from the sports calendar standpoint.
Yeah, it's a nice stretch.
It's the kickoff. Mm-hmm. And so your timeline coincides with Bree being, were you the first female golfer on the men's golf team at Andover High School?
I think there was one girl before me, and wow, I'm really blanking on a name, but it was Mark McCumber's niece.
Oh, interesting.
Mark McCumber. So I think he was on the senior tour or something at the time. I think she had just been there, but I don't know how much she played. But so maybe I might have been second.
I remember it being a huge deal, right? You don't see a lot of, female golfers, and you're competing same rules, same, and you've probably gone up against that most of your career in the golf world. Like, what was your, reception like? How did you feel like going into that world? Was it completely different for you, or were you like, okay, I've done this a million times, I'm ready to compete at this level?
Like I was so nervous. So when we moved to Andover, I was in 8th grade and I tried out for the golf team because my parents were like, "You're just going to try out." I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to." I was the only girl. It was so awkward. But I really fell in love with golf and playing when we moved to Andover, and we were members at Andover Country Club. And there was a bunch of guys, kids at the time, boys, Alex Berger, and we just meet up there and like play. And I'm like, wow, there's like kids my age that played. So we all like kept playing. I was like, I'm kind of into this. I like it. So I tried out for the golf team. I somehow made it. I have no idea how. Remember it being horrendous. I don't know if I even broke 90. I have no idea. It was terrible. Maybe it was like a mercy rule that I got on. I have no idea. But I got better as I went. And I didn't play. I played one match at Andover. And I had to play from the men's tees, and it was hard. It's so awkward being just the only girl. And at the time they didn't have a girls team, obviously. We played from the men's tees. It was hard. You're kind of at a disadvantage when you're like a little high school girl, buttoning it around. But I think that really helped when I went to college, playing at a longer tee, playing longer yardages, and being around guys playing. I definitely improved the most. And by the time I left high school, I mean, obviously I got a college scholarship and improved drastically in a short 4 years. But it was fun. And ironically, I'm sure you guys know Rob Oppenheim. Like, we're really good friends still to this day. He's like best buddies, buddies with my husband. I see him all the time. It's just like such a small golf world.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
We were talking about that yesterday, actually, now that you bring it up. Just, how few people make it to that level.
Yeah.
And how many people are trying. There's multiple tours. I'm not 100% familiar with how many of them there are on the women's side, but I assume it's the same, right? You've got something like the Corn Ferry, you've got Q School, you've got all this stuff, and it's not very many people make it through. So it is funny. It probably does feel like a small little fraternity.
Yeah, it's crazy. So like, especially for the guys, there's so many guys that are so good, and there's limited spots. And obviously the PGA Tour, if you can make it to the PGA Tour, it's easier to keep your card than it is to get your card. And there's the Corn Ferry Tour, there's Canadian Tour, there's a Latin American Tour, there's all these little feeder things, but there's more guys than there are tours. And I mean, there's so many great guys. Same thing with the girls. I played on the Symetra Tour, and now called the Epson Tour, and it was a feeder for the LPGA. And it's just the same thing. There's just not enough spots, but a lot of talent. But I'd say the women's game is getting deeper, but it's not as deep as the guys for talent.
AJ, Andy,
Yes.
Are you betting on any of these feeder tours? Yeah, are you?
Not quite. I do bet DP Tour.
I had a feeling.
Yeah. So, and just a name to keep in mind is Tom McKibben. They call him the next Rory McIlroy.
Oh.
He grew up in North Hollywood. He's just a baby. He's literally only 20, 21 years old. And you can get him at, 45, 50 to 1. And so I'm just going to bet him every DP event. And eventually he's going to win. And I'll be like, well, as long as it was under 50 times, you get your units back. But I am not quite ready to bet. Corn Ferry Tour. You probably have to dig real deep to find odds there. But that doesn't take away from, I do watch a lot of the KFT stuff, late summer, especially when it's like the fall series and they're grinding out to get those Cherish Tour spots.
That's when you're a golf fan, when you're seeking out any golf you can find on at any point in time outside of like the core season. And I've been there too. I remember watching, it was in the fall, there was some tournament, I think they were in Washington in the mountains, and I was like, this is great. This is golf. I'll watch it. I don't care. So I get it. I don't know how to gamble on it, but I definitely know where to find it. So that's half the battle.
So Bryn, you just got back from Augusta. You've been doing some on-field reporting for one night in Pinehurst here. So tell me a little bit about the experience there. You told us backstage, but tell our listeners a little bit about, what you saw there, what the experience is like, because most of us will probably not step foot on the Augusta green. We won't be able to smell the azaleas in full bloom. Tell us a little bit about the experience there, what you took away from it, and any hints you might be able to give to AJ.
Yeah. Start giving you some inside info on players. I mean, I got some hookups, so might have to help you out there. I mean, we're so spoiled that we get to go to the Masters. So both my husband and I are PGA Class A members, and part of being a PGA Class A, you get free Masters tickets, which is incredible. I mean, we can go any day, all day, every year. So we go there. We don't care so much about watching everybody hit shots and stuff, but just taking in the atmosphere, seeing the golf course. I mean, this was my third time there, and seeing the course still is just so awesome. I feel like it's kind of like golf's like holy ground, if you will. Like it just feels like a pilgrimage to make it to Augusta. And the course in person, you just get such an appreciation for all the undulation and the hills and everything. It's awesome. So we hung out on the range for a little bit, spent a good time there. We were kind of interested in watching how the live guys were interacting with the PGA Tour guys, just with the drama, just because it's kind of interesting. The first time everybody's been back together. Some guys won't ever come back to the Masters based on world ranking points at this point, unless something changes. So unless the guys have won already, they're not coming back. But I mean, most of the guys, I would say, were pretty friendly. Like Zach Johnson was talking to Bryson, and everybody loved Harold. He's just holding court out there in the range. I would say Phil Mickelson was kind of a lone ranger out there hitting balls. Nobody was really talking to him. And I would say he wasn't hitting it great. I would not probably bet on Phil this week. I could be wrong, but that's just my personal.
We're in.
It's an uphill battle for him for sure. Yeah.
I mean, if you've been watching his live scores, I mean, I don't know. And again, like these guys who play in the live, it's great. I feel like it's an exhibition tour. I don't know how people feel about the live tour. I feel like it's very divided. But it's an exhibition tour. It's not a golf tour. They're just having fun. They're playing golf, getting paid a lot of money.
Yep.
But it was great to be at Augusta. It was super crowded, and it's probably the most crowded I've ever seen it in the other 2 times I've been there. Spent a lot of time in the merchandise tent, fighting people for stuff. We got a gnome. Apparently, I don't know if you guys have heard about the golf gnome.
No.
Heard about the gnome?
No.
Oh my God. You're going to have to look up this gnome thing. Okay.
Oh,
There's
I love
this gnome, and it is hideous. It is like a 12-foot gnome, and it looks like an ugly, like little Santa Claus golf tourist. And I think it started in 2016, and these things sell out so fast. So we got there, and we were in the merchandise line at like, I don't know, 7:30. This is so embarrassing to tell, actually.
I love it.
And I'm like, well, one of our friends really wanted this gnome, and we're like, we're going to get you this gnome. So we get in there, and I'm like, I know where it's at because I've read all these articles. We shimmy back there, and there's these gnomes. We're like, we might as well get one per person because you're allowed. So we got one for a friend. And apparently these things are $49, this old 12-foot Santa Claus guy. And they go for like $500 on eBay. People are like killing people for gnomes. So we get out of there, and people are staring at us, and they're asking us when we got in line and when we grabbed our gnome. And I'm like, we got to get to the car. I got to get rid of this gnome. This is like super embarrassing. We got the Masters gnome, but you're gonna have to look that up later.
I'm reading about it now, and apparently, so they changed the look every year a little bit. They change it annually, but it's crazy. Yeah, it's just like you described it. It's basically like a gnome tourist.
That's
and
terrible.
This is crazy. They restock them the whole tournament, and then as soon as it's over, and there's nowhere to get them. So it's a scarcity thing. Yeah.
So they only have so many per day, and they don't tell you how many there is. And it was sold out. We left the merchandise tent, and like 30, 45 minutes later, they were gone. Like none to be found. And when I went to check out, she's like, this is my first gnome I've ever checked out. I'm like, oh, great.
People love gnomes. They're like little mythical. I get it. I don't get it because I've never been there, but I get it. I kind of get it. Why it's rare. There aren't many of them, and it's kind of like a fun random thing. And it's a great story. You could literally break any conversation ice with that story if you were talking.
Exactly. So I felt like you needed to know that. That seemed like pertinent information about my
listeners are going to appreciate every
fantastic.
single second of it. I do need to know, did you get a pimento cheese sandwich? And is that like the go-to there? And how, like, how many do you have
I mean,
there?
they're like
Like,
a
I
dollar.
would
They're
probably
like
just stack
they're like
up.
50 cents. You can eat as many
Yeah,
as
I
you
know.
want.
$1.50. You just go through his concession line. It's the cheapest food. Everything's great. You have that, the egg salad sandwich. I mean, you just keep going. I mean, you have to. If you go get a beer, you got to get a pimento cheese sandwich. It's just like it's right there. It's $1.50.
Yeah. Gibby, that's what you kept saying to me in Pinehurst last year. Every time I turned around, you had another type of pimento item. You just kept going. It was
This past year, yeah, this past year was crab cakes. I tried to set my over under on Polly's Island at like 13 and a half crab cakes, but the flight got in late for 4-day week. And I think I only got to like 6, but we did order everything that had crab on it on the menu one night. So
it was a good bid.
So AJ, give me a couple guys that you are hearing about, you're reading about, you're seeing the odds on that you really love for this weekend coming up.
Sure. If you want the goofy, superstitious / well, he's got the pedigree. He's done it before there. He's also got some demons there. I am going to make a modest wager on Jordan Spieth at 15-1. Now, why? Again, he's got the green jacket. He has completely melted down there before in 2016 when Danny Willett came out of nowhere and took the green jacket from him.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this little holiday called Easter that Mr. Spieth has won back-to-back Easter Sundays. He won last year at the RBC Heritage, and he won the year before at the Valero in San Antonio. And so he's kind of a horse for the course at Augusta. Yeah. And I think at 15-1, I think you're actually, you're almost getting, his odds should actually even be maybe like 20-25-1 if we're being honest, in my opinion. That being said, I'm gonna lean Spieth. If you want to be a little more conservative, you could probably just bet him to finish in the top 10 or top 20. But if you want to, have a little gusto, bet Spieth 15-1. If you want to be really square, there's nothing wrong with being square and going with Scotty Scheffler, defending champion, great form, already kind of blew the competition to smithereens in Sawgrass. What's strange about Jon Rahm is everyone said he was the best player in the world, and he was arguably in the beginning of the year when he had won 3 events in basically the first 5 that he played, but he's kind of been a little erratic. He didn't do much in the match play. He withdrew with an upset tummy in the Players, so he's not really trending. But then again, it's Jon Rahm. He can turn it on in a light switch. 2 other guys, I guess I'll rattle. I look for Xander Schauffele to have a bounce back. He missed the cut last year, but previously he's I think he finished like tied for 3, tied for 5. He was right there, a couple of years ago when Matsuyama won it. Schauffele hit it in the drink, I think, on 16. And so he's got unfinished business at Augusta, in my opinion. And then kind of a long shot would be maybe someone like Min-Woo Lee. Now, a lot of people say, stay away from people that, haven't played Augusta that many times. Now, Min-Woo, he only played it once, but he tied for 14th last year. And then Scotty Scheffler, as we mentioned, he, before last year, he had played it twice, and then he won it last year. So I think the way these new guys, they're not, obviously they know they need to know what Augusta is and all that stuff. But I think I have to play it for 4 editions of Augusta before I can win. I think some of these guys have kind of bucked that trend. So just long story short, those 3 guys basically.
I think, to that point, and I agree, and we've talked about this and it's been belabored out there a ton. If you haven't experienced Augusta in some capacity, it's really hard to win there. I think Bud had a stat for us yesterday. I don't think there's been a first time a debut winner there in a long
Zeller.
Yeah, long time. So I get that.
That's a little history lesson.
Thank you. But Min Woo is kind of feels like one of those guys who doesn't really care. Like sister is a star on the women's tour, not like shy. The spotlight probably won't overwhelm him. That's not a, if you're gonna go with one of those guys, I feel like that's a good pick. And Xander's got the right game for that course. Like he hits the ball. His iron play is usually really good. He's awesome around the greens.
One thing you brought up, Matty, on Monday, Xander, like there was a report.
Yeah.
He missed more putts than he made on the practice games. And I'm curious, Bree, like as you're prepping for a tournament or for an event or something, you know, that your nerves are going regardless, right? So talk us through that a little bit. And like, if you're not practicing well the week leading up to it, does that play into the game? Or is that like, hey, I had a crap week of practice, but I was able to turn it on in a second or two?
You know, it's so interesting. Like I almost feel like thinking back to when I was playing, like if I was, or like even before a round, if I was hitting the ball good before a round, like thought that was bad luck, or playing really well and practice rounds leading up to the tournament, not loving it. I'd rather be struggling just a little bit so you're a little sharper and paying attention more to what you're doing. Just you're a little bit more, you're not on cruise control. But that's just my opinion. So like leading up to, if you're working on something, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to not be playing great early in the week, because hey, you're gonna miss some putts in your practice rounds. You're getting a feel for it. Your nerves are turned on, but you're gonna be more sharp when you teed up on Thursday, in my opinion. That's how I felt. I never wanted to like get to the range on Thursday morning before a golf round, you know, a tournament round, and be like, man, I'm striping it. No.
Yeah.
No, I want to feel a little pressure and like be paying more attention. But maybe I'm just a little weird. I mean, you'd love to.
No, I think that's, you know, it's great feedback too. I'm curious. So we don't need to hear, you know, I don't want to ask you the whole story of the big break, but I do have some questions as you talk about some of your golf career. And like, is that a highlight for you? Is that something you shy away from? Like, I was on TV, I was on, you know, the Golf Channel. It was a big deal. There was someone there that was hosting, etc. You know, what is the reception? What's your reaction to that experience now?
Well, seeing how my kind of playing competitive career is over, that seems to be my highlight. So I should probably hold on to that one.
You should.
So I thought maybe at the time, like maybe I was gonna move on to something else being my highlight, like winning a US Open, but that didn't happen. So yeah, I mean, I'm proud of that. It was a great experience. Leading up to that, I had played in a US Open as an amateur, and you know, I played in a US Open in 2009 after I'd filmed the big break. And I will tell you honestly, on the big break, I was more nervous than any other time I've ever played golf in my life. And I think it's because it's different. It's in golf, you can kind of redeem yourself with another shot, but big break was all or nothing. Like you could just have a 5-foot putt and that means you're on or off the show. And part of that might not have gotten the best results of winners, or some people should have made it further because of that, but that was just kind of the nature of the show. And that's kind of what happened. But honestly, that was the most nervous and the most pressure I've ever felt in my career. And I've played hundreds of golf tournaments and been in contention before to win a Symetra Tour event, but big break was some serious pressure, and it was fun and it was crazy, and it's fun to look back on it. It's kind of hard to watch yourself, you know, however many years later. It's a little cringy, but I mean, it was really fun, and it's something I'm proud of. But I mean, I think I'm most proud of the US Opens I played in, but going back to nerves and the pressure I've held on big break, it was unmatched.
And so in terms of like US Opens too, and like in the Symetra Tour and everything that you've accomplished too in your career, is there a moment like as you're getting into the last day, the last 3 holes where you're in it and you've got a shot to win, where like you're starting to think in those terms, like, oh man, all right, I could actually win this freaking thing. And what does that feel like? Not necessarily the US Open, but like the big break.
Or I mean, and I can relate to that. You know, I obviously never, my best finish on the Symetra Tour was second. And I had those feelings like, man, if if I do, like, I could win this. Like, I'm right here, and this would be like, career changing at the time to win an event, or winning the big break, and it being in the moment, being like I can win this. Like, it's almost, I remember hitting those shots or hitting my winning putt, and it almost feels like an out of body experience. And I don't know how I pulled the pulled the putter back, and still makes me nervous thinking about it. But it's a weird feeling. But I think the people who are successful, obviously I won big break, but I didn't win a golf tournament. I won mini tour stuff, but not a Symetra Tour event or LPGA. And I think people who are most successful don't get those thoughts. They kind of see them and let them go, and then they focus on what they're doing. Me, I'm over here wondering, like, okay, great. What can this do for my career? Oh, I'm gonna win this golf tournament. Well, that's great, but she just birdied, you're done. So
yeah.
That's kind of like, I think that's the mental part of it that some people are a little better at. But your mind definitely wanders, or at least mine did. And maybe that's why I wasn't as successful on some of those big wins. But with big break, I was fully aware of the moment and everything. So it was cool.
Yeah, it's the thinking about big break too. Like, what year was that? What year was that that you were on?
2006. So it was big break 6.
6. Okay.
Yeah. And it was 2006, in the summer of 2006.
And that was kind of like, I mean, it's all a blur to me now, but I feel like that's kind of just when reality shows of any kind were starting to get going. So like, not a lot of people had done it yet. So that pressure that you're talking about, on top of the fact that it's on TV and you're like, every shot is like sudden death, it was still, there weren't 1,000 reality shows out there. So it was like, I feel like that would probably add to it, right? Because there weren't that many other things going on, and everybody was like, this is different, this is new, I'm fixated on this. And so people actually remember it.
Yeah. I mean, and it really, like, at the time, it brought kind of more light to some of the women's golf. It brought more spectators out to Symetra Tour events because they wanted to see big break players, and they saw them on TV. And it was before there was Twitter, before there was Instagram. All there was like the Golf Channel discussion board, and that was like, you don't want to read what people had to say about that. So I can't, like, now it's, like, it's a blessing and a curse. Like, if like, let's say you run big break now and became, a star on that show, be great because you have more connection on Instagram and Twitter, but you're also getting a lot more of that negative feedback. And with reality TV stuff, I mean, people have lots of things to say, and sometimes it's not nice. But I mean, I really think it was good for golf, and it was good for mini tour men's golf and for women's golf. I mean, Tony Finau, big break guy. So it's just good stuff like that. And they found some kind of great players, diamond in the rough, great stories. I think that's kind of what was great about big break, is you saw the stories of the people, and there's so, especially guys and girls, there's so many of these people you haven't heard of, but they're great stories.
Which makes it more real, right? Because we follow these guys on tour, and everybody, it's I think it's the connection when it's a reality show like that too. You feel like you get to know somebody on a level that we have no possible way of getting to know, unless these guys are like super social media driven, which I know is part of the, are they still doing that? Is it, they still getting bonuses for like how much they like get active there?
I think they are. Or I don't know if that was just the last time I had heard, wasn't it Tiger that got it?
I'm not sure. Andy, you're shaking your head. Do you know if they're still doing that?
Oh yeah, they're the PIP.
Yeah.
That's still there. I don't know if how much longer it's gonna continue, but it's definitely there. I know they increased the payouts last year. But yeah, and
crazy.
So, incentive for these guys to tweet.
Well, I think like Full Swing, right? Like, I fell in love with, me, obviously, like, I was a fan of Finau before, but like, so we'll get to that. Actually, I've got a couple questions for you guys, then we'll sign off. We'll let everyone enjoy their evening, get ready for the Masters tomorrow. Nance,
put some cookies out in milk for Papa Nance to come by and grab.
So Andy, who is your or what are you most excited for this weekend, for Masters weekend? What has you rubbing your hands like, I just can't wait for this? And it could be one thing, it could be a million things.
This specific edition, I'm really curious to see how nasty this weather could be. That Saturday forecast of low 50s and rain, they better they better play. They better
Yeah.
not call it off. If there's no lightning, no thunder, and provided the course can handle this rain. Now, if the course is unplayable, I get it.
Yeah.
But if it's oversaturated, then they can't play. But if it's a constant rain and it's cold for these players, I want to see it. That sounds a little contrarian because a lot of people watch the Augusta for the nice weather and the blue skies, but it's not going to be like that on Saturday. So that's one little wrinkle. I'm looking forward to taking a long lunch tomorrow and watching the golf. So I'm actually at the office now. I'll go back to work after the show just to kind of stay ahead of the curve. I'm looking forward to seeing how these master pools shake up and welcoming back. Jim Nantz went away for about 48 hours with his farewell sojourn with the March Madness, but he's back at Augusta per usual. And yeah, I know they made some changes they made 13 a little longer. Yep. So it's not this guarantee where the players are going to automatically go for 2 every time. So
risk reward.
And I think they might have lengthened one of the other par 4s on the
they built a new tee box and they pushed it back like 35-40 yards. I can't remember. Does anybody remember what hole that is? It's like 15 or 14.
It could be 14 because 15 is a par 5, so it must be 14.
That's the one around the corner, right?
Yeah.
Like left. Yeah, and that tee box is back there.
It's deep. Yeah, I saw something today on Instagram. Somebody walked from basically like where the spectators are back to it, and it was a good walk. It was 30-45 yards.
Yeah, I guess always, I'll say this every year until he wins. Always want to see if Rory can exercise his demons from I think it might have been 2010, the year that Charles Schwartzel won, because Rory shot the 80 on his final round or whatever, because he needs to get that career Grand Slam at some point. And then there's always a curiosity, intrigue factor with Tiger, but the way this forecast is shaping up, Tiger he has that whole warm-up routine. Cold weather doesn't really see eye to eye with his body at this point. So just those things in no particular order.
I like that. Good storylines.
Bree, what are you excited for this weekend?
I agree with you with the weather. I actually like seeing them play in the bad weather. I think it's great. I think it brings out the best players, who's going to be mentally tough. I like it. Now, would it be fun to go watching in that and be a player? Probably not, but it's good for spectating, for us. It's I'm excited to have all the players back, all the live guys back, see how they do. I mean, really like Cam Smith. I mean, I'm not a big live person, but I think he's a great player. And just seeing how that all kind of plays out and how they all play. I guess I'm here for the drama.
It's the big break. It's
a big break in me. I just want to see how this all pans out. We just haven't seen it all together, and it's just it's fun. It's good to have everybody back. I'm excited. Love seeing Tiger play. I think the weather doesn't work out well for him either, but who knows? It's Tiger. You never know.
He's not out until he's actually mathematically eliminated.
Exactly. I mean, he's still Tiger. He'll be okay.
Yeah,
but I'd like to see them move that tee box on 15 to the front for the weekend and play it a little shorter. It'll be interesting with it being wet. I don't know. I like it shorter, but
balls are just going to dent the greens and stick, but it'll make it a little bit harder to. I wonder if I could put the tinfoil hat on real quick, Gibby. Is there a chance that the PGA Tour is orchestrating this whole live thing from behind the scenes to generate this activity and this interest in the sport? And we ruled that out. Is there a possibility there?
I think that's asking a lot for the PGA Tour to
coordinate.
Forward thinking. Okay. I think they've done a lot of reaction, and I think this has been a shot in the arm for the PGA Tour from everything I've read and I've seen. Right. Yeah. And what was interesting is I think one of the reasons why Phil and I saw this on the Golf Channel last night, why he's been taking such a beating is he's taking credit for this thing happening when really it's Tiger is the reason why live is happening. and it's a little bit disingenuous. It's not a little bit, it's a lot disingenuous. And so anyway, so I'll digress. There might be a blog post about that at some point.
Oh, it sounds like there's one. Sounds like there's one in the hopper. I'm excited to read
There
it.
could be one in the hopper. And I'm just stealing other people's ideas at this point. But
You're not supposed to say
properly-
that part out loud, Gibby. I told you got to keep that.
No,
back.
I'll properly attribute and quote.
Oh,
but,
okay. All right.
So yeah, we're fine copyright wise. But
yeah, of course.
This being said, we're wrapping up One Night in Pinehurst, our Masters coverage. Before we do that, Andy, Bree, Matty, myself, we need who's wearing the green jacket Sunday night. Who is putting it on, and what speech are we getting from who? We'll start with you, Bree. You're ready. Is it Sergio?
Oh, I love Sergio. I'm a big Sergio fan. I love it. And I like Cam Smith. I mean, I don't know. I feel I'm going with Cam Smith for some reason. He's in my mind. I'm feeling him.
All right. AJ.
I'm gonna back up my gambling ticket and say it's gonna be Jordan Spieth getting the pat on the back from Scotty Scheffler Sunday night.
Is there a shoulder rub involved too?
Nance, that's for Nance.
The shoulder rub and the pat.
Yeah.
Can we say that's the most awkward ceremony ever?
Yeah.
I mean,
is.
Unpopular opinion, but that is super weird.
They're in that weird little room that looks like your grandparents' living room for when you went to Christmas. Yeah, it's just there's a name for it. I know there is, and I butchered it.
I feel like that's blasphemy to say, but it just feels weird.
That's okay.
It's a bit weird.
That's okay. It's Nance adjacent, so Gibby's not going to be able to get on board with that take, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I love it, but it's weird. Yeah.
Yes, that's fair. I think it's a good way to assess that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had a futures bet in for a few weeks now on Cam Young, the other Cam, who I just really like his game, and he doesn't seem to the pressure's not really something that ever seems to impact him. He always seems very locked in. Like him and his caddy have a great relationship. They seem to just play their game, and when he's on and he's hitting the ball as far as anybody with iron play and he can putt, he's going to be in the mix. So I'm sticking with him outside of that core top group. If I had to pick somebody from that core top group though, I think Rahm makes a lot of sense. No one's really heard about him for a few weeks. He didn't, he kind of sort of played all right at the match play and just sort of took a week off, and he's kind of been creeping since he won those events at the beginning of the year. But I mean, he can win, Andy said it earlier, he can win literally anytime he wants if he turns it on and he's locked in. There's not probably anybody more talented than him right now with the ability to do what he did. Remember that one of the stops on the California leg that I don't even know which tournament it was. I can't remember, but it was a round where his back nine, he shot a 28 or something, and he hit every single shot, and he has that upside. So I think he's probably worth a bet in the quote unquote favorites. What about you, Gibby?
Yeah. So this is something I've been pretty firm on all week. I've been hinting at it all week long.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Tony Finau's turn. I think he's finally going to break through. I think we've been ready to see it, and
yeah, he could do it. He could do it. I think he's definitely got the right game for it. Obviously, we talked about that a lot, but he also is one of those guys who's won enough now to know what it means to win, and he's played all right when he's played in Augusta. So I think that's a pretty good pick there from Gibby, who may or may not have just froze on us. And so we're going to keep pressing through because, we'll see if we can do this without him. But yeah, we lost him. Perfect. This is the first time this has ever happened. This is the first time we've ever lost one of the co-hosts. And now he's back. He's bouncing in and out. He's going to be so worried about what's happened while he was gone. We're going to tell him that we're holding him to that Tony Finau pick. But yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So do we think we had a conversation yesterday about this too, about the amateurs, and there was that story of Doug Gim and how he kind of came on and played really well, and almost he was top 50 or something like that. What's the highest you think an amateur could possibly finish? I always wonder about this at Augusta. Is it one of those things where what they don't know can't hurt them, or do you guys think it's ever possible we'll see an amateur in the top 20?
I'm not sure. I could have sworn Hideki Matsuyama was the highest scoring amateur once, because when he won a couple of years ago, they showed him at Butler's cabin. So you mentioned how awkward that ceremony is.
There
Well,
it is.
also in that ceremony, the best amateur is also in the room when the green jacket gets, put on and stuff. But I am not dialed in on, the history of the amateurs at Augusta and like what the best score ever was of all time. But obviously it would be one of those, college players that could probably flirt with greatness over a 4-day stretch.
That's a good pull. I totally forgot all about that. Yeah, he was standing next to Charles in there, and he was 19, 2011. Wow, that was a good call.
There's the new exemption for the NCAA champion.
Mm,
Oh, I don't know. I'm blanking on the guy's name.
Sarge from Vanderbilt.
Sargent, yeah, Gordon Sargent.
He is striping it
Yeah,
on the range, just absolutely just so good. So that kid's the real deal. I wouldn't be surprised if he played really well.
yeah, he's getting a lot of buzz. That'll be interesting to see if he can. Like I said, maybe they don't know. They're so young, they don't know what they don't know, and they're just playing golf and they don't care.
Yeah, they don't know. They have no bad memories. They're just going out there thinking, how hard is golf? I'm playing great.
Yeah.
And then on Monday morning, he's flying back, and all his buddies are taking him out to Tootsie's on Broadway,
Tootsie's, waiting for you to get plugged in
for some honky tonk and wings and a few pops and some tunes. So it seems like the right time for him to be live.
What
But
a life.
so for apologies, I had a little bit of a computer issue. The weather from Augusta got up here to Maine somehow. Saturday rolled in. I've got Finau winning. I don't know if we heard that, if our listeners heard it. But we're in on Finau. Anyway, Bree, Andy, this has been a pleasure. Let's not let another 20 years go by before we chat again. Hope everyone in your family, your friends are doing well, and take care of yourselves. And thank you so much for joining. Follow us One Night in Pinehurst. Anything you want to plug, you can plug away if you want.
Yeah.
No, we were all supposed to be at the Washington Monument, I think, some April 3rd, 2021, per the last page of the high school yearbook. But
Wow.
that's a true story. That's a true story. If you look, I didn't go, obviously. I think the planning committee dropped the ball there. So,
Gibby, you're the planning committee, so that means something's going wrong.
Now, Matty, but we're going back to Jackie Brando.
That's gonna ruin your night. You're gonna be thinking about
Let's
that
get
all
Jackie
night.
on the show.
That's true.
Oh man.
Everyone, have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, you too. Thanks for coming.
appreciate it.